The silence after that look stretches, thin as glass. Malik shifts slightly, headphones half on, eyes fixed on the window. A child tugs at his sleeve. Are you flying the plane? Innocent, bright. Before Malik can smile, the mother leans forward, voice low but sharp. I think he's in the wrong seat. The attendant hesitates, her practiced smile faltering. Malik blinks once, polite. My ticket says 14A, ma'am. The mother chuckles, that brittle, self-assured sound of someone unused to being questioned. Well, sometimes they mix things up. Maybe check again? The attendant's gaze flickers, from Malik's calm to the woman's insistence, to the phone already raised by another passenger pretending to scroll. The quiet shifts, whispers stir like air turbulence. Malik's inner voice threads through the noise, narration calm, detached, but pulsing. It's always the same tone, not a scream, a suggestion, a question shaped like an accusation. He hands over his ticket without a tremor. You can check it if you like. The attendant scans. Pause. He's right, ma'am. That's his seat. A silence follows. Not victory, not relief. Just the soft collapse of pretense. The mother nods stiffly, eyes fixed on nothing. Malik turns back toward the window. Narration resumes, slower now, measured. This is how disrespect arrives, not in shouts, but in whispers that draw lines no one admits to seeing. The cabin breathes again, pretending to move on, but something invisible has shifted, not just air pressure, but power. Malik puts his headphones on, though no music plays. The screen before him blurs slightly, reflection of a world that still needs proof for a seat he already earned. The mother's words hang in the air, deceptively calm but drenched in superiority. You're in my daughter's seat. Her voice doesn't rise, it doesn't need to. Power never does when it believes it owns the room. Malik turns slightly, confusion soft but visible. Ma'am, this is 14A. His voice is steady, respectful. She exhales through her nose, slow, deliberate. I'm sure it's just a mistake. You understand. Her smile is brittle, the kind people wear to cover arrogance. The nearby passengers glance up. A man adjusts his tie. A woman lowers her magazine. No one speaks, just the hum of judgment disguised as curiosity. The flight attendant arrives, awkwardly polite. Everything okay here? She's saying. I took her seat, Malik says quietly. The mother leans forward, eyes flicking toward the attendant like she's reporting a disturbance. I'm only asking you to check. He doesn't need to be defensive. Defensive. The word lands heavier than it sounds. Malik looks down at his hands, folded tight on his lap. This is how it starts, his inner voice murmurs. Not with shouting, with doubt. The attendant checks the tickets. Pause. Mr. Malik's correct. 14A is his seat. The mother blinks. Her expression flickers between shock and irritation. Oh, well, that's strange. It's not strange, Malik says softly. It's just printed. Her lips part, but no words come. The silence that follows is louder than any argument. Narration lingers. People don't always mean to humiliate you. They just never expect you to belong. She looks away, cheeks tight. The cabin returns to its false calm, but eyes still linger. Not on her, not on him, but on the invisible line drawn between them. The flight attendant lingers a second too long. Clipboard clutched, smile forced. Everything's settled, right? She says, voice stretched between protocol and pity. No one answers. The hum of the engines fills what courage should. The mother adjusts her scarf, murmuring just loud enough. These days you can't say anything without offending someone. Her daughter shifts uncomfortably beside her. Mom, maybe just... I'm not wrong, she interrupts, sharp but low. I was just trying to make it right. Malik doesn't look at her. He keeps his gaze on the window. sky pressing against glass, endless, quiet. "This is what it's like," his mind whispers. "To be watched for your reaction more than your rightness." A man in the aisle seat clears his throat. "Let's just move on, yeah?" His tone is casual, but his eyes plead for peace, not justice. The flight attendant nods quickly, escaping the moment. Her shoes click away like punctuation marks on something no one wants to read aloud. Malik exhales. "It's fine," he says softly, not for her, but for himself. The mother crosses her arms. "See? He's not upset." Her daughter's voice trembles. "Mom, please stop." For the first time, the cabin feels colder. Eyes lower, heads turn, not in sympathy but in shame. No one moves, no one speaks, yet everyone knows they've witnessed something irreversible. Narration folds in gently. Sometimes silence doesn't protect the innocent, it just comforts the comfortable. Malik closes his eyes. The hum continues, but the air feels heavier now, as if truth itself is pressing down, waiting to be heard. The intercom crackles, slicing through the tension like sudden thunder. "This is Captain Reynolds. Hold that request." His voice isn't loud, it's measured, controlled, but it lands with the weight of command. Every head lifts. The mother stiffens, fingers tightening around her handbag. Malik doesn't move. He just listens, heart steady but guarded. A pause. Long enough for the quiet to echo. "Ma'am," Reynolds continues, his tone calm, deliberate. "I've been informed there's a seating concern. Before anyone moves, let's be clear. No one's comfort comes at the cost of another's dignity." A murmur ripples through the cabin. The mother forces a laugh. "Captain, I think there's a misunderstanding." Reynolds interrupts softly. "There's no misunderstanding. We're professionals here. Everyone earned their seat, and no one's losing it today." Her voice cracks. "But my daughter, she feels unsafe." "Discomfort," Reynolds replies, "isn't the same as danger." His words hang heavy, absolute. The flight attendant looks down, her relief almost visible. Malik exhales, but only slightly, still holding himself in quiet strength. Reynolds' voice softens, a note of reflection seeping through. "I've seen this before," he says, almost to himself. "A good kid treated like turbulence, something to be moved, not respected. Not again. Not on my flight." The cabin stills. The mother's lips press shut. Her daughter lowers her eyes, shame blooming where entitlement once stood. For the first time, silence feels right. Not empty, but earned. The intercom clicks off. The hum of the plane returns, softer now, like the air itself has shifted sides. Malik looks forward, unspoken gratitude flickering in his eyes. Justice this time didn't need to shout. It just needed a voice. Susan's voice cracks the air like static. "Are we really just going to sit here? He's in my daughter's seat." Her tone wavers, not from uncertainty, but from the shock of being ignored. The cabin doesn't move. No one meets her eyes. The sound of the engine hums, low and endless, as if swallowing her protest whole. Malik stays seated, hands folded neatly on his lap. His voice, when it comes, is soft. "This is my seat, ma'am. No anger, just truth." Susan scoffs, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Unbelievable." She glances around for backup. No one gives it. The passengers pretend to scroll, sip coffee, look anywhere but her. Her daughter, Emma, tugs at her sleeve. "Mom, stop. Please." Susan's jaw tightens. "Don't tell me to stop, Emma. It's about principle." Malik turns slightly, his eyes meeting hers. "Principle or privilege?" The words are quiet but heavy. They land with more weight than her shouting ever could. The silence that follows isn't peace, it's judgment. A pressure that builds from every unspoken thought in the room. The flight attendant hesitates, then murmurs, "Ma'am, perhaps we can all stay calm." Susan laughs, brittle, defensive. "Oh, so now I'm the problem?" No one replies. Even her daughter's eyes fall to the floor. Narration slips through the moment. There's a kind of silence that doesn't hide anything. It exposes. It forces truth into the open. Susan's confidence drains slowly, like a mask melting under heat. Malik doesn't gloat. He doesn't move. His stillness is louder than any apology could be. The cabin remains suspended. A courtroom with no judge, no verdict, yet everyone already knows who's guilty. From the cockpit window, Reynolds can see only fragments. A mother's stiff shoulders, a young man's calm stillness, a silence that feels heavier than engine fuel. His hand tightens around the throttle, though the plane hasn't even left the ground. Something about that boy's posture, head high, voice low, drags him backward in time. Narration cuts softly through. Some memories don't age. They just wait for the right kind of silence to wake them. Reynolds hears another voice, one from years ago. A young black trainee, voice trembling but proud. "Sir, I didn't do anything wrong." The same calm tone. The same dignity mistaken for defiance. He remembers the briefing room, the way no one spoke, how his own silence joined theirs. He whispers now, barely audible. "I should have said something back then." The co-pilot glances over. "Captain?" Reynolds shakes his head. "Nothing, just déjà vu." Down the aisle, he sees the flight attendant trying to soothe Susan, but every gesture only feeds her indignation. The mother's voice is sharp, practiced in control. The boy remains unbothered, and that's what unravels her. Reynolds exhales, steady but firm. "They're all watching," he mutters under his breath, like they did before. His heart beats slower, heavier. The memory of the trainee's face, that quiet shame, flickers against Malik's stillness. He leans closer to the intercom, his reflection catching the dim glow of the panel. For the first time in years, he feels the old weight of cowardice lifting, replaced by something steadier, older, truer. Narration settles in like air pressure before a storm. Redemption never arrives loud. It waits for a man to remember the silence he once chose and decide not to repeat it. The hum of the engines is steady, but the cabin feels off balance, like everyone's holding their breath. Two attendants whisper near the galley, voices small, nervous. "Should we—" "Step in," one mutters. The other shakes her head. "Captain said stay calm." Across the aisle, a passenger raises her phone. Another lowers her eyes, pretending to scroll. The man beside her stares straight ahead, jaw tight. Part of him wanting to say something, most of him terrified too. Narration slides in, soft and uneasy. Complicity doesn't wear a uniform. It wears silence. Susan's voice cuts through, polished, brittle. "This is harassment. He's making me uncomfortable." Malik doesn't move. His voice is level, low. "I haven't said a word to you." Her cheeks flush. She glances around, looking for agreement that won't come. The recording phone lingers on her trembling hands. A young woman in row 4 whispers, "He's just sitting there, ma'am. Maybe you should—" Susan glares. "Mind your business. The plane seems to shrink." Air thinning, tension thickening. Malik's stillness feels like protest now. Quiet, heavy, undeniable. Reynolds watches from the cockpit door, unseen. His reflection in the small window looks older, heavier. He murmurs to himself, "They're all seeing it. This time, they can't pretend." A man in the back finally speaks up, voice cracking. "You're the only one shouting, lady." Silence swallows the sound. Everyone feels the shift, tiny, but irreversible. Malik exhales, slow and steady, as if letting go of everyone else's fear but keeping his own. Narration closes in like gravity. Some truths don't need to be spoken. They just need to be watched long enough to make the watchers uneasy. Reynolds straightens his jacket, fingers trembling slightly on the gold wings pinned to his chest. The intercom crackles behind him, waiting for his voice. But for once, he needs to speak face to face. He pushes open the cockpit door. The entire cabin turns. Silence lands heavier than any announcement. Susan freezes mid-sentence, eyes wide as the captain walks past the rows. His voice, calm yet weighted, slices the air. "Ma'am, please return to your seat." "I was just," she starts, but he lifts a hand, quiet but firm. "You've said enough." The passengers shift, murmurs rise and fade. Malik looks up, not in defiance, but in disbelief. Reynolds stops beside him. "You're fine where you are, son." The words carry more than authority. They carry years of what he didn't say before. Susan's tone cracks. "Are you seriously taking his side?" Reynolds exhales through his nose, slow. "I'm taking the side that's right." A hush spreads. Even the engines seem to dim. Narration enters softly. It wasn't the first time he'd seen this, only the first time he refused to watch. Reynolds kneels slightly, his voice low enough for Malik alone. "Long time ago, I didn't speak when I should have. Don't let my silence repeat itself." Malik nods, a quiet understanding passing between two men from different skies. Reynolds straightens. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're continuing our flight. With respect for every passenger on board." Applause doesn't come. Just the slow, collective exhale of shame releasing itself into recycled air. Narration lingers. Sometimes justice doesn't roar through microphones. It whispers through uniforms finally worn with courage. Reynolds doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Authority hums quietly through the air, the kind that doesn't demand respect but earns it. Susan's confidence falters under his steady gaze. Her hand tightens around her daughter's arm. "Captain, I just wanted what's fair," she mutters. Reynolds nods slowly. "Fair," he repeats, almost tasting the word. "Fair would have been you teaching her that respect isn't reserved for skin color." Her mouth opens, but no sound comes. Around them, passengers watch, pretending not to. The hum of the plane feels louder than breath. Reynolds turns slightly toward Malik. "You handled yourself better than most adults I've known," he says softly. "I'm sorry it had to be tested this way." Malik doesn't respond, just nods, eyes steady, voice quiet. "Guess it's not new, sir." Reynolds swallows hard. "Doesn't mean it should keep happening." Susan shifts, her voice trembling. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone." "No," Reynolds replies. "You did that yourself." The words fall heavy, not cruel, just honest. Narration weaves through the stillness. For years, he'd flown above storms, thinking silence was safety. But now he understood. Silence had been surrender. The cabin remains still. No applause, no outrage, just a collective recognition that something sacred had happened. Reynolds straightens. "We'll be continuing our flight shortly," he says evenly. "Let's make sure we land as better people than we took off." A faint rustle moves through the rows. Some avoid eye contact, others wipe quiet tears. Malik exhales slowly for the first time since the confrontation began. Narration closes. Justice didn't roar that day. It stood calm and human, wearing a pilot's wings. The cabin remained suspended in silence, the kind that follows a truth finally spoken aloud. Then slowly, a single clap breaks it. Another follows. Not thunderous, just trembling, hesitant, real. A quiet wave of acknowledgement spreads, as if people are clapping not for Malik, but for what's right. Susan stares straight ahead, her face drained of color. Her daughter looks up at her, confused. "Mom, why is everyone clapping?" The question slices deeper than any reprimand. Susan blinks rapidly, but no words come. Reynolds lowers his gaze, the applause fading into the hum of the engines. "That's enough," he says gently. "We're not here to humiliate anyone. Just to remember who we are." Malik sits still, his hands folded tightly in his lap. "I didn't want trouble," he murmurs. "I just wanted to sit." Reynolds nods. Sometimes sitting is the loudest thing you can do. Narration settles softly. Entitlement doesn't collapse with noise. It folds in silence, under the weight of eyes that finally see it. Susan shifts uncomfortably, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't mean... I just thought... Reynolds cuts her off with calm precision. You thought your comfort mattered more than his right to exist here. Her lips tremble. The crowd doesn't stare anymore. They look away, ashamed of how long they've looked the other way before. Malik glances out the window, clouds drifting below like distant forgiveness. Guess we're all learning something today, he says quietly. Reynolds answers. Some lessons take altitude. The plane steadies. No one claps again. They don't need to. Narration closes. Somewhere between sky and silence, a woman lost her privilege and a boy reclaimed his peace. The days that followed felt slower, heavier. Susan sat at her kitchen table, the morning light slicing through blinds like judgment. Her phone buzzed endlessly, messages unread, notifications piling like reminders she couldn't swipe away. The world had seen her. And worse, it hadn't looked away. She whispered to herself, it was a misunderstanding. But the echo didn't agree. On the other side of that same news cycle, Malik stood at a podium in his school gym, flashed, but he didn't smile. I didn't do anything special, he said softly. I just stayed seated. The crowd went silent, the weight of that simplicity sinking deep. A news anchor's voice cut through living rooms everywhere. The young man's composure has become a global symbol of quiet resistance. Susan muted the TV, her reflection staring back from the black screen. Quiet resistance, she murmured. That's what broke me, her daughter peeked in, hesitant. Mom, they're still talking about you. Susan sighed, eyes tired. I know, a pause. Did you mean what you said on the plane? Susan froze. The question stripped away what denial had protected. No, she said after a long breath, but it sounded like I did. Narration folds in gently. Sometimes silence heals the wounded, and sometimes it haunts the ones who caused it. Across the city, Malik sat by his window, phone buzzing with interviews, praise, expectations. He turned it face down, whispering, let them talk. I just wanted peace. Back in her kitchen, Susan stared at the same word trending on her screen, peace, and realized how far she was from it. The engines hummed like a memory that wouldn't fade. Malik stood at the edge of the runway, the wind cutting against his jacket, carrying pieces of a day that still lived behind his eyes. That plane, silver, blinding, almost holy, was the same one where silence had saved him. He could still hear Captain Reynolds' voice echoing inside him. Dignity doesn't shout. He repeated it softly, as if testing its weight. Dignity doesn't shout. Behind him, footsteps. A woman's voice, quiet, cautious. Malik? He turned. It was Mrs. Reynolds. Her hair was tied back, her eyes tired but warm. He wanted you to have this, she said, handing him a small, folded note. He wrote it that night. Malik's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside, in rough handwriting, when the world looks down on you, keep your eyes on the sky. Some of us are still watching from above. For a moment, Malik didn't breathe. I never got to thank him, he whispered. Mrs. Reynolds nodded slowly. He knew, he said. He'd never seen courage so quiet. The wind shifted, carrying the faint sound of another plane lifting off. Malik looked up, tears tracing down without shame this time. Narration slips in. He'd spent years thinking justice came with noise, anger, and applause. But maybe it lived in the quiet act of still standing, unshaken. Mrs. Reynolds stepped closer. He said you reminded him of who he wanted to be when he started flying. Malik smiled faintly. Then maybe I'll keep him flying too. The engines roared again, but this time it wasn't noise. It was a scent, steady, earned, free. Malik lifted his eyes, whispering again. Dignity doesn't shout. It flies.